Northside will open the season this Friday night when they take on Pulaski County at the Cougars Den. A couple weeks ago, I had a chance to catch up with Scott Fisher. He was quarterback for Jim Hickam and Northside. I asked him what the differences were in Coach Hickam with officials and Bert Torrance with officials. Scott Fisher coached for Coach Torrance as well. And I also asked Scott Fisher, how is he with officials? We didn't just talk about referees. We talked about transfer portals and much, much more. It's Scott Fisher on the Sports Buffet podcast.
Talking to Scott Fisher. I don't want to, speak out of turn, but obviously you don't teach nowadays. How often are you in the building, I should say?
Yeah, I'm in the building every day. Maybe, just to check mailboxes, maybe just to go up and check on guys, maybe go by guidance or speak with the principal or the AD. But I'm in the school every day. I actually sub on Wednesday all day. And then, I'm a permanent sub with them on Wednesday. So I'm always in the school on Wednesday all day.
How much do you feel like Wednesday helps? Because, being in school and being out of the school, I think it's two different things.
It is. I think there is an advantage of having a head football coach in the school. I think you have a really good finger on the pulse, so to speak, on what's going on in the school. Fortunately for me, I've got some good guys that are on staff that are teachers in the school and keep me informed on things that go on during the day that I might not be aware of immediately. But we've made it work. Mr. McKee was the principal that hired me. He's now up at Montgomery County Public Schools. But we just said that we would make that work, and we have. It's been a good experience.
Because I'm assuming back in the day, if you coached, you were definitely. I got to guess Hickam was in the school.
100%. 100%. Yep.
Do you think?
And I think the next coach that follows me would be, my recommendation would be that they be in the school. I think it's important, honestly. And when I was hired, I was the only coach in the county, and to my knowledge, I think I still am, that is not a public school teacher.
Why is it important to be in the building?
I think it's just good that the kids see you in the building. That's why I go up there every day. If they have a problem, they can come directly to the head coach as opposed to going to another coach. I just think it's important.
Relational. Define relational for me.
It's really good. It's what goes on between players and staff, not just myself. It's important that you have empathy for your players and know where they're coming from and what they need and how you can present it to them.
Was Jim Hickam relational?
He was. He was fair. And what's odd about this is that with Coach Hickam, a lot of the guys that played for him may not have really liked him a whole lot when they were playing for him. They didn't understand the tough love that we came through and the hard knocks and so forth. But as we get older, that respect grows, I think. And that's what I've seen with some of the guys that I played with. And even guys that I didn't play with, they'll come by and they'll start up a conversation about Coach, and you could see the admiration that comes out. But they didn't really care for him too much when they were playing, and they try to take what they taught him and instill that in their kids, which I think is pretty cool.
I have to imagine that all old school coaches, including yourself, because you've labeled yourself old school to me before, I've got to imagine old school coaches are much more concerned about the W on Friday night than, popularity between Monday and Thursday.
I think that would be an accurate statement.
Was that
I know
Hickam?
that, yeah, I can tell you that, I know this from my mother. My mom used to sit with Betty Jane, which is Coach Hickam's wife, and in the stands, and Betty Jane would say, "You can holler at anybody you want, but that's my husband down there." And, you have to have a little deaf ears when things fall on you like that. And he never really worried about what people said, pro, cons, or good, bad. He was a football coach, and that's what he was.
Do you think you had a different relationship with Hickam maybe than other guys because you're the quarterback? Because Brad Bradley has taught me two things. The guy that's going to take the most heat after the game is going to be the head coach and the quarterback. Do you feel like you had a different relationship with Hickam because of that?
I think so. Probably, my relationship in high school was really with the offensive coordinator, Coach Strutt, who he passed away December 23rd, 1998, a year after I graduated not in, excuse me, 87. He died right after that. And it, I was with him majority of the time. Coach Chicken really ran the defensive part of the whole thing. So I had good relationships with both those guys.
Let me go back. That is odd for a head coach back then to run a defense, or is it not, in your opinion?
I think each one of the head coaches back in the day were always a special on one side of the ball or not. I would think like Coach Hicks, for example, at Pulaski, I think he was more of an offensive minded guy. Coach White at Salem, I would say the same thing, more offensive minded guy. And then Coach Hickam was definitely a defensive guy.
I have got to imagine that in your playing days, was it Northside and Salem the big rivalry?
Back in the day, I would say Northside and Salem was a big rivalry. We played in what was called the Western Virginia uh, Association, which was Pulaski and Northside, Franklin County, PH, Fleming, EC Glass, and Heritage, Cave Spring, uh, and so you had 9 games, among 10 teams, and all of them were all AAA. But our big game, and we had games against Fleming that was really good, but probably Salem and Pulaski were our two big ones. Because Coach Hickam actually, coached at Pulaski.
Right. If you could take your kids and have them watch any old school rivalry, preferably on the north side rank, what's that rivalry you want them to see? And is it still there?
Our rivalry now has kind of changed a little bit. I would say at one time it was, LB, and now I'd say it's probably more so with William Byrd, just because they've done a really good job over there as a staff of bringing that program back up, to where it was years ago. But as far as our guys watching older films, I would show them the old Salem, because ironically, the old Salem films look just like the Salem film today. They still run the exact same stuff. It's a commitment to the program, and it's pretty neat to watch, really.
Yeah, when you say that, I think of like, probably in Giles County, kids are learning the single wing almost
Yeah,
the moment they're born. How
yeah,
important is it to keep
100%.
things as mirrored as you can to a high school program, to a little league program in your eyes?
Yeah, I think it's important. I don't think it's drastically important that the recreational players run exactly what the high school players do. I think creativity among the coaches that come up through the rec club. I was a rec club coach. I think it's important that they have their own opportunity to put their own stamp on their team, their program. But once they get up into the middle school, at least the language, play call, and stuff like that, we would like for it to be a little bit more like the varsity.
What was the big difference in Scott Fisher, the rec coach, as to Scott Fisher, the high school coach?
Great question. I made this comment several years ago when my oldest son Tyler was playing bitty football, 6 and 7 year olds, full pads. I would fight and scream and holler over a yard if there was a mistake, which I deemed a mistake from the officiating crew on marking or something. Now, not so much. I've really become an educator and a teacher for our guys. Try to be more of a role model, and those guys can take what they get and see and apply it in their own lives, and not look like an idiot screaming on the sideline as much.
I talked about being relational earlier. Obviously, you want to be relational to your kids on your team, no doubt. How important is it that you have that relationship with, outsiders like, I almost said football, officials, media, stuff like that? It's a different relationship, no doubt. But how important is it that you can be relational to the others as well?
Yeah, I think it's important. I want to be approachable. I don't want to be one of those guys that somebody doesn't want to really talk to, or I don't like being labeled just as a football coach. My role in life is to be a good dad first, a good husband, and if I can help our team and players out, in life, so be it.
Was Hickam tough on officials?
I don't really remember too much about that. I would say that he probably was a little firm.
Was
Yes.
was Bert Torrance tough on officials?
He was. Yeah, he certainly was. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think if you're tough on officials, you can't be but so tough to where you forget the game, if that makes sense.
That's correct. I'm a high school. Well, I gave that up last year, but I was a high school baseball official, and the same officials that I would work with in baseball, majority of them are football officials too. So, I'm kind of hard on them, but only hard on them when I feel like I'm right. Um, and if they tell me I'm wrong and they show me I'm wrong, I'm the first one to say I admit I was wrong.
How can they show you're wrong? Because it's not like they got an iPad to where they can just pull out.
Yeah, we talk about that on the sideline jokingly. Like, hey, I know you missed that. Would you like to take a picture of it? Would you like to see it? Of course, you're not supposed to do that, but I know those guys personally, and we kid about that. But, um, it's hard to be official. Those guys take a lot of grief from a lot of different people. So I really try not to bother them too much. They're, people just like you and I.
We haven't talked a lot in life, but I've got to say this about you. I can't imagine you claim the being wrong a lot with an official.
No, I'm not.
and I guess
Yeah.
for any coach, once they kind of say, "What did you?" I mean, talk to me a little bit about the coach and official dynamic, because I feel like if a coach says, "What did you see? I didn't see it that way," and then gives the official, I don't want to say credit. Well, when is the coach right? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a fine line there and how you address that. And, you get a response and you turn and walk away. You might not like the response you got, but we have some really good officials and they do a good job explaining what they saw versus what I think I saw. And, we try to leave it and move on.
Do you think it's a better relationship with coaches and officials now than it used to be?
Certainly hope so. Certainly hope so. Those, like I said, there's not a lot of new guys getting into that profession, and we got to do something to get more younger people in, so the game continues to grow.
What's your son up to these days?
Well, I got three of those guys.
Okay.
My oldest one, Tyler. All three of them are in the insurance business with me at the office, and Austin, my middle son, coaches the middle school team. He's the head coach there. And my other two, Christian, my youngest, and Tyler, my oldest, actually took a couple years off to grow their business more. So they'll probably get back into it eventually, if I had to guess.
My question, believe it or not, is would you want them to officiate sometime?
My oldest son actually officiated in high school sports. He was
Okay.
a volleyball official, and he actually called some ODAC basketball, scrimmage games and that type of stuff. He was a basketball official, so he's been on the other side of it as well.
You couldn't pay me enough money, by the way, in today's age to officiate, because with all of the social media and especially at the younger level, I mean, I'd be worried about getting into a fist fight.
We have been at travel sport events, and some of those things are way out of control. I don't like being in large places with a lot of people, and sporting events are one of the things that testosterone gets really boosted up, and it's an alarming event that's happening right now.
I promise I'm not going to put you on a bulletin board, but define way out of control to me.
Well, if you watch any really social media stuff, especially in the next probably 3 to 5 weeks when the travel sports gets geared up, you're going to have a mass chaos at some point. A fan or coach is going to get all over the official. We see it in high school basketball a lot. There's not a lot of barriers from the stands to the field or to the court rather. And I think it's just getting out of hand. And I think that's why guys and ladies are getting out of that profession.
I'm going to give you a magic wand, and you can eliminate either travel or the portal. Which one do you
Mm.
eliminate?
For me, I eliminate. That's a great question. Gosh, my first thought is to eliminate the portal. I hate the portal.
I think the
I
portal
think,
developed is good, but when we put no rules on it, I mean, you can't tell a kid you can have, as much candy as you want and then go back to, oh, only one piece. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Go ahead.
the portal gives kids an opportunity um, to get paid. I get that, and it gives them an opportunity. to move from place to place. I just think it's good. It's bad. I don't see any good come out of it other than, for the kids personally. But old school people would say when you make a commitment to go to a school, you fulfill that commitment. You're getting a scholarship. You're not costing your education anything. What else do you really need? That's my mentality.
Well, not just to me, I have a feeling if you decided you wanted to leave your college and go somewhere else, I can't imagine mom, dad, or whoever else would have been like, okay, yeah, sure. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely not. It's all about commitment.
Re-
That's what's lacking now in all different kinds of sports. I mean, in travel sports, you see teams popping up all over the place where little Johnny doesn't get his way or his dad doesn't get his way, and they create another team. And then when they get to high school, if they're not playing a position they think they ought to play, they just up and move or up and enroll somewhere else.
Last question about travel sports, other than do you want to start an organization together? Because I guess we could. But do, do you feel like, how good of a thing is it that travel sports is not really infringed on football like it has on other sports for
It's
you,
starting. Yeah,
right?
it's starting. They're in our area, and yours too, probably. There are 5 or 6 major players in the travel football um, arena, so to speak. It doesn't really impact the JV or the varsity, but it's starting to impact the middle school programs now. And I think what ends up happening at that level is people start looking at options of where they want their son or daughter to go to school at, and they start thinking about where they're going to move to, and it really becomes open enrollment at that point, and I don't like that.
Knock on wood, it's not the beast that baseball and basketball is once you get into the AAU circuits. Because I think that
It's
really is
yeah.
rough. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not. I started actually the USSSA baseball in Virginia. We ran Mike Divers and I ran tournaments for 25 years in Virginia, from Bristol all the way up to Richmond, and it grew and grew and grew, and it now I see it at the middle school level and the JV level and the varsity level, and it's good and bad.
I think we did a real good job there being political. So I'm going to ask one last question and then we'll go on to something else. If I gave you a wand to change anything in high school sports, what do you change?
I changed the um, I'm going to call it the transfer portal rules,
Okay.
right? I don't like that. We got impacted with that several years in a row. I don't like the underhandedness, if that's a word, that's done by other staffs to recruit players at camps. When they go to camps and stuff. I don't like that a lick. I don't think they should be able to talk to other players. But that's what I would eliminate that and put heavy restrictions on that.
You just heard a snippet from Scott Fisher. He is the head coach of Northside. Hopefully, we'll be talking to Northside throughout the year and Coach Fisher. And the Vikings open up at Pulaski on Friday night. For the Sports Buffet podcast, this has been Bob Alvis.